I did not grow up in the city. I grew up in the countryside, and I was used to green environments filled with trees. And as I say, my mother also instilled this in me, because at home, anytime we are washing clothes, washing utensils, the water we had left was used to plant trees. Then after university, I moved to the city, as we used to do those days, to look for an opportunity. And I remember the first thing that I was displeased about is one time I was just going for my first job interview, and it was an early morning, and I'm going over a street with an open sewer, and I slipped, and this thing just came into my mind that using my engineering knowledge, I need to be a part of the solution towards solving this. And so that passion and seeing that as a problem, and later getting exposed in Germany and coming across these technologies, the idea fell together, and I was already set that by the time I come back to the country, I would focus on engineering for the environment, specifically wastewater recycling. When you think about climate change, of course, there's the issue of disappearing forest and green cover. So our end users reuse our water to plant trees and to maintain green cover. If I pick as an example of a residential home on maybe half an acre, you'll find on average every home has about 50 trees. And so if our wastewater is reused to plant trees and create green cover, and we have about, say, 100 homes, and of course our projects are more than 100, that would be about 5,000 trees acting as carbon sinks, providing natural cooling. And also in case of floods, which is a climate change problem, trees would also help to regulate the floods. The other thing is to do with wash-related diseases. In the event there were storms and floods, which is again a climate change effect, with treated water, at least you reduce the risk of wash-related diseases by about 99.9%, because if there is a flood and the water has been treated, it means it's less contaminated, as opposed to if it's flooding and you have sewer all around the environment. The other thing is about agriculture and food security. Our water can be recycled to a level where it can be reused even for food crop growth, and we know shortage of food is a problem of climate action. So if we treat it to the level where it can be used for agriculture, then it also contributes to food security. Talking about adapting to climate change also causes like further scarcity of water. So in case the droughts happen and the water is contaminated, it means people will not have safe water for drinking. So by recycling, you're providing an alternative secondary supply that is safer in case there's water shortages, so people can use it for secondary purposes and reserve the fresh water for drinking. We get our market mainly from the construction industry. So people who are developing their homes, real estate developers and realtors. We also have commercial developments like people setting up shops, and it's mainly people not connected to the main municipal sewer. So people who are struggling with the water supply, water shortages, that's where we get our market. So somebody has a home and maybe they would like to maintain green lawns, but water is too expensive or it's scarce and limited, so they forget about the lawns, or they're suffering the problem of always calling a honeysucker to exhaust the wastewater, and it's very expensive. So homeowners, real estate developers, even like companies that are explorers, exploring like, let's say, base titanium, or the way you have tallow oil out there, hotels, lodges, commercial centers, institutions, companies, factories, anywhere where sewage is produced. Actually, I think every human being is our target customer, because everybody produces wastewater in their daily living. The biggest strain is you have a business you're trying to grow that is a bit, being projects, it's capital, operational capital intensive. And so for the last 8 years, we are not yet there. It's still limited, strained operational capital. And that translates to sub-challenges of like, you have your suppliers, you're not able to pay them on time. So how we mitigate that is we negotiate long credit periods with our suppliers, who I must thank because they've been understanding and supportive, and we try to stick to the agreed terms. Operational resources, simple things like we operate on outsourced transport because we think it is a risk to invest in a fleet of transport and our cash is limited. So it's better to use that money when you need the vehicle rather than take many cars and you're paying a loan and then you don't know, sometime the project revenue might dip and then you have to keep paying a loan. So we outsource the transport for our operations, but of course it would be perfect if we had our own cars that we can just operate at our own convenience. And then our office space, as you can see, we are outgrowing it because if we are doing more projects, it means probably we need more stock of our equipment. And so, of course, we would need a bigger space and a bigger warehouse to store those, and having its own department and staff running it. So definitely the financial capital has limited our office space expansion. And the one thing that we've really tried to do is low-key sales and marketing, capitalizing on digital online free marketing. But I think the best for our business would be above the line, that is quite capital intensive, and like you do TV adverts, do a lot of awareness features and training, because this is a thing about sustainability. So if we could even have a TV program or a feature running, but that requires a high intensive capital. So those are some of the limitations, and a lot of manual operation. We have our office admin documentation, so we use a lot of Excel, we use a lot of physical documents. The best dream would be digitalization and an ERP, and we can remotely track our activities. So finance to invest in all these things, as well as consistent training of our staff. Like if we could have a training almost every month, because I believe training helps to keep people sharp, but right now we are limited to maybe 1 or 2 in a year. But with enough capital, we would do more skill-related trainings. Right now we are at about 200 projects. So my dream is in about 3 or 4 years, if we could get to the magic number of 1,000 projects. Now, getting to 1,000 projects then would mean you need more salespeople, you need more agent resellers in different regions in the country, in the 47 counties. It means you may need a representative in Rwanda or Uganda or Tanzania, because our exclusive dealership is for Eastern Africa with our German manufacturer. So there is expansion to get resellers and representatives in the different regions, and with more projects, all those things that I said we need to be augmented. So I need to increase my staff maybe to 5 times what it is now. We are at 10, needs to grow to about 50, and we need to get all these resources and become digitalized and operating on ERP. We have some debts that we would like to settle, and of course the above the line marketing. So to do all these things, after calculating and projecting, comes to about $950,000 US. And what we would be looking at is a mix of debt and a mix of equity, because at the moment I think I would be willing to release about 10 to 20% equity shareholding.